Welcome to the Asking Why podcast. Our goal is to get to the root issues of systemic problems using a theological and psychological lens. We hope you enjoy. Great conversations don't happen by accident. Big thanks to Wellness by Dr. Natalia for helping make Asking Why with Clint Davis possible. Supporting meaningful dialogue, deeper thinking, and questions most people don't stop to ask. Learn more about wellness by clicking the link below. Welcome to the Asking Why podcast. I'm your host, Clint Davis, and today we have Bob, not Thames, but Tim's on. And, the thing that I wanted to have him on for you listening is that he is a Shreveport entrepreneur, community builder, and nonprofit leader who is passionate about helping local businesses, organizations, and people thrive. Bob serves as treasurer of Shreveport Green, developmental director of Cohab, and sits on the board of Community Renewal, all while leading single-source business solutions and owning the beloved local restaurant Marilynn's Place, which I do love and enjoy quite often.
Yeah, man, Marilynn's is a crazy story. I made a little video on my social media yesterday just talking about how if we don't, go after something, it'll never happen. I literally chased the Marilynn's Place dream for probably 6.5 years before it actually happened. I lived on Greenway Place, which is the street just past Marilynn's on the left-hand side. And at the time I worked for Great Raft Brewing. And so I'd go up to Marilynn's, I'd go to Key, and somewhere along the line, I started asking Boz, the old owner, about 6.5, 7 years ago. I'm like, man, let me buy this place, and we had the same conversation for years of like, hey, you throw a number out, I'll throw a number out. And nobody would ever put a number on the table. And then last July, Boz called me and was like, hey man, I'm ready to retire. I want to hang it up. And you're the person I want to take over this place. And I'm like, oh, crap. And then we went over how we wanted to do the deal. And by the time I hung up, I knew that I was going to buy it. I'd always wanted it. And so I wasn't afraid of the doing it. But with 2 kids and a wife and another business, that's 3 years in. It's like, man, how do you find the time? How do you find the money? How are you really going to pull this thing off? A restaurant is not something that's just, hey, I bought the restaurant, it's running. It's an everyday thing. 2 minutes before I came here, I ran to Camper's RV to pick up a new plug for the food trailer we have sitting outside. And when I leave here, I'll probably have to run to Sam's to grab something. So a restaurant's an all-in thing. So that was a little bit scary for me, but it's led me into a great spot with that. And it's been the next evolution of me. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's cool, man. So are you from Shreveport originally?
Yeah, originally from Bethany out toward Greenwood. Grew up out there, went to Byrd High School in the magnet program. Met a lot of people at Byrd, and, it was different for me. Country life, I had 4, 5, 6 friends growing up. We'd go run around, do whatever. And then Byrd, you get introduced to all these people from different areas of the city and all that. And then eventually went to Louisiana Tech after a year here at Tech Barstow. Ended up at Louisiana Tech in Ruston. Love Ruston, love Louisiana Tech.
What year was that?
That was 2008. I ended up out in Ruston.
I just left, yep.
So I was worked for Lowe's out there for a little bit. Just didn't love the corporate world. I had an opportunity to get into the restaurant world, and I always told myself back then, I was like, man, I don't want to work in a restaurant. All my buddies are doing this. Like, I'm just do whatever. And then ended up working at Doghouse for a summer, and my brother eventually took over as kitchen manager. I was like, man, I just can't work with my brother all this time. Like, we'll fight, whatever. Yeah. And we love each other, but at the same time, when you're working with Big Brother, it's a little different. And so I had the opportunity to go work at Sundown, which is right there on the railroad tracks, and went to work at Sundown and ended up there for about 6 years. And in the middle of all that, just decided school wasn't for me. I enjoyed working. I enjoyed people. Was making enough money, and then eventually I would work a little bit Sundown, a little bit Doghouse, a lot of Sundown, a lot of Doghouse, and just fell in love with the restaurant world. And so I had the opportunity in 2000 and I think it was 2014 or 15 to move back home to Shreveport and work for Great Raft. And so at the time I was just coming out of a relationship, things didn't work out. I said, man, let me take this opportunity to get back home, see how things go. So ended up at Great Raft. I came into the role as kind of the tasting room manager, which is essentially their bar area. And so people would come in, they'd recognize me. I became Bobby Beers almost overnight. And then before I knew it, I'd taken on kind of multiple roles at Great Raft. So I was doing a little bit of sales, doing a little bit of projections, helping out with operations and logistics, and all in the meantime, going out into the market and buying beer and representing the brand. and just really fell in love with craft beer. It's a lot of community involvement, and as in any business in Shreveport or anywhere, is if you don't want to be involved or if you're not involved in the community, it's probably not going to last very long. And so with Great Raft, especially Andrew and Lindsay, who owned that place, had a very good sense of how involved we needed to be in the community. And that led me to relationships in the restaurant world, ultimately with Boz, with Marilynn's place. That's kind of where all that started. But it really, the love for community started with Great Raft, and it's just continued to grow for me since then.
That's awesome, man. So after moving from Great Raft, you now, what was the other?
So Single Source is the business that I started with a friend of mine. So I left Great Raft after 6.5 years. In November of 2022. So I lost my dad in October of 2020. Oh, man. Had a stroke. All this COVID time, it was hard getting in the hospital, seeing it all. He passed away a week after he had a stroke. Gosh. 30 days later, my oldest daughter's born. So I had this stretch from October 24th when he had his stroke till December 3rd when my daughter was born, where I literally just was like floating on air. Mm-hmm. And then coming out the other side of that, just the brewery thing just wasn't the same for me. COVID took a lot of it out of me because a lot of the personal relationships were somewhat fractured. I mean, we weren't able to support bars. We weren't able to do things. So during that time, I helped raise some money, and that was fun. But like, the brewery life shifted from being around talking about beer, drinking beer, hanging out, to a lot of spreadsheets and a lot of presentations with grocery stores, because that was where the beer was being sold. And so I just kind of started falling out of love with Great Raft. And then my second daughter was born in May of 22, and that really just took it out. I was like, man, I don't want to do this thing where I'm here at night and doing all this. And little did I know I'd be buying a restaurant a few years later to put me back into it. But so in the summer of 22, I really was kind of figuring, how do I get out of this thing? And so a friend of mine who's a CPA, who's actually my manager at Sundown in Ruston, he was the kitchen manager. I worked in the kitchen under him. He said, hey, I've got my CPA firm going, but realistically, I need somebody that can help with building a client base and helping me take this thing to another level. And so he had started kind of during COVID and then taking some time off to just have a steady job and make sure his family was provided for, but he was ready to grow the business. So we started Single Source together in November of 22, built it up to where now we've got about 12 employees, over 100 local clients, a lot of business clients, a lot of personal clients. So we've actually shifted focus this last year to be more focused on tax mitigation, tax planning, helping people keep money in their business and in their pocket at the end of the day. And so while we love the bookkeeping and accounting aspect, it can just wear you down. I think a lot of what we want to do as Single Source is literally be that one place where folks can come in and get all the help in the world, but it's just not realistic.
It's difficult.
It is difficult. And I think a lot of times with businesses, when they would sign up, they would think that like, we're going to magically make these books just better and great. And at the end of the day, like, your books are your books. We're just putting them together. Yeah. And so it also takes in that industry, it takes a lot of back and forth with the client. And a lot of times if you're not getting the client participation, then you're not able to really help them grow or help them plan or help them do those things. So we're up front now where we're really focused on mitigation strategies and planning strategies for high net worth individuals that are needing to offset tax. So a lot of people, their strategy is like, I get to the end of the year, my CPA tells me spend $100,000, so it makes it look like I made no money. So then, well, you're going to keep pushing that ball down the road, and at some point you've got to have a different strategy, whether it be an investment, a 401k, an IRA, an oil and gas investment, a film investment. You got to have something to help offset some of those layers of tax, or you're just going to push that ball down the road. And so for us, that's the newest kind of iteration of Single Source is not so much the business side of it, but more the tax mitigation, the tax planning side.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you, as an entrepreneur, what are, for people that are out there in Shreveport maybe, or even wherever, what, you have any kind of like tried and true things that worked for you that are?
Man, just I think you have to be willing, as hard as it is. Like, I'm not a risky person. I'm not going to go out tomorrow and put everything I've got on the line and say, hey, this is it. But in being in business, you have to have some higher level of risk tolerance. And you also have to be realizing when something's not working, you have to pivot, right? Yeah. Now, I'm not saying if you have a strategy and it's a 6-month strategy and you're 2 days in and you don't feel good about it, pull the rug out from under it. But if there's something that's coming up your way or something that's come onto your plate that can help you generate revenue, help you grow your business, you need to try to jump on it and take advantage. And that's my biggest thing in talking to businesses is don't get comfortable, right? There's going to be something that happens within your business that's going to lead to the next level of that business, and you got to be willing to take that leap right then.
Yeah.
That, and then be involved in the community as much as you can. But honestly, where I'm mentally right now, you don't get what you don't ask for. If I'm out here just hoping to get business for single source and I'm not promoting it, I'm not talking about it, I'm not passing out business cards and networking and talking about that business, then we're going to see a drop in sales. And I can show you that because the last 3-4 months, I've been so concentrated on Marilynn's place and getting it going and getting it to where I want it to be that I've had to take a little dip on the single source side, which is okay. I have a team behind me. I have some sales folks and they're getting there, but it's not
you driving the ship.
I'm not driving it. So it's hindered our growth just a little bit. So now I'm back in the mindset where it's like, okay, the restaurant's open. There's obviously things I'm going to be touching every single day, every hour on the restaurant. But at the same time, folks have to remember that single source is a thing and that I'm here to help them with tax, and I've got to get that word out there more. But if you're not willing to stand on your business and talk about your business and promote your business personally, it's going to be a tough thing to do. And for whatever reason, here we are in Shreveport Bossier where it just seems like it's 10x tougher than anywhere else.
Why do you think that is?
Man, it's the biggest little city in the world. Everybody knows everybody. You're 1 degree of separation away from knowing somebody. You're like me. You can't go to the grocery store without seeing 5 people you know. And so word gets around fast if you don't put out a good product, if you don't stand behind your business, if you don't treat the customers the way that they want to be treated and deliver what you say you're going to deliver, then word's going to spread fast. I think it's that, and then there's just this mentality of Shreveport, Bossier too. I know that we get tied together all the time, Shreveport Bossier. I struggle to say Shreveport Bossier, but there's this mentality that we can be just good enough for Shreveport, and I think that the reality, and Andrew and Lindsay had it pegged from the beginning with Great Raft, is like you could pick Great Raft up and plant it in Dallas or Austin or Portland, Oregon, or wherever, San Antonio, whatever, and it would be successful right there because they built it to where it's not just Shreveport good, but good.
Yeah.
And so that's the focus you have to have with business is don't just be good enough for where you're at, be good enough for any market. And that's what I've tried to do with Marilynn's place. And that's certainly what we try to do with single source. And single source we have physicians all over the country that we're tied to because of the relationships that we have with physicians here. And, they say, I went to med school with a guy that's in New Jersey now. He needs a CPA. I don't need him physically in office to help him save money on tax or help him strategize. Does he need to be an S Corp? Does he need to take this W-2? Whatever. He can be in New Jersey and do that. And so, in a sense, you just have to think outside of this box that we paint ourselves here in Shreveport Bossier.
That's good, man. I like that. Yeah, I think people ask me all the time, like, why aren't you in Dallas? Or why have you not moved to a bigger city? I'm like, I love Shreveport. I love the people that are here. I think we still have a lot of hope, in changing things. I think there's a lot of people our age that are running businesses well and doing things differently.
And not to interrupt you, but like I see the same problems that Shreveport has that people just highlight and complain about. If you get out of Shreveport, those problems exist. Mm-hmm. If you go to Dallas, there's traffic, there's bad roads, there's crime, there's rundown houses, there's rundown downtown buildings. Like all that happens.
There's Chipotle's without guacamole.
Yeah, all that happens everywhere. For some reason in Shreveport, we get this idea that's not happening everywhere. And I get it. There's negative things. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not one to look at things and just be completely that doesn't actually happen here. Like BS. Like, yeah, it happens here. But if we just concentrate on that problem and not the solution or not the positive thing that we do have, then we're going to continue to be stuck in a rut.
Yeah, man. Well, that's why I wanted to have you on too. I think, with people like you who are trying to make Shreveport better, it's like, I just want people who listen to this that live here, like to see, yes, it's a therapy podcast on some level, but like every once in a while, it's nice to just kind of breathe some blood into Shreveport and go, hey man, y'all listen to this, like go eat at Marilynn's place, like use these resources, go buy local, go eat at restaurants when you can, because that's going to help all of us.
Yeah. Well, and there's just so much that we do have that is positive that's different from places. You look at Shreveport Bossier and you can literally be in South Shreveport and then in North Bossier in 15, 20 minutes, and that doesn't happen in a Dallas.
No.
That doesn't happen over in big cities. There's always that traffic issue. And so the traffic's one thing we have for us for sure. The infrastructure that we have as a city is mind blowing, or as the two cities together. And there is a lot of positive momentum, but it gets drowned out by the negative a lot of the times. And that's where I try to keep my head above the clouds and just stay in the dreamer mode. There's been a lot of people in my past. You look at the Grant Knuckles, the Matt Snyders of the world, Andrew Crawford, like I loop them all together because they did all these events together. But Andrew and Lindsay Nations and Kyle Bajwan and Ellie and Chalk and his wife, Laura, like there's just all these people in my life that have pushed, and they've pushed me up this hill. And now I feel like it's my responsibility to push people and to show them like we have it. We really do. We have it all. We have everything that we need here, but no one's going to give it to us. We have to go and get it. I read an article recently. There's a development where the old Don Seafood was on Kings Highway. And there was a quote in that article, and it just like burned me. It made me mad because the quote in there was from a neighbor that said, "Why do they give us a gas station? Why don't they give us or give us this?" And I'm like, nobody's giving you anything. The guy that wants to put this gas station there and invest several $1 million is putting it on the line. He gets to decide what he wants to put there because he's the one doing it. Nobody just hands out businesses and says, "Oh, I'm going to give you guys a new shopping mall here. I'm going to give you guys a cool dog park, tap house situation." Like no one's just giving businesses. Like businesses are being brought up and being invested, and it's not a give thing. It's somebody's having to put it on the line to make that happen.
For sure.
And so when you read a comment like that, that's like, why are they giving us this? It's just like, is that how?
Yeah, you think the city is just handing out millions of dollars and going, "Hey, why don't you guys, run this gas station?"
Yeah, you take this empty lot and put this gas, put this here. That's what we're going to give you. And it's like, that's just not how the world goes around. And that's unfortunately, like, I hate to say that, but there's a lot of ignorance out there of how things work. And so not only are we fighting the tough economy and the tough times and, the heat and everything else, but then you're fighting a population and some people that are ignorant to how things can work sometimes. And so that can be as equally as frustrating as a cash flow problem or a bad vendor or whatever it may be.
Talk to me about a little bit of that. So running Marilyn's Place, running the restaurant, for people who are like, we can't keep a good restaurant in Shreveport, although I think we have so many good restaurants. I feel like we have like the best food ever.
Line Avenue alone, I would put up against a lot of roads.
100%. Like it's so
much
good
food over that way.
But what do you feel like as a community, and as a business owner, maybe somebody who's like, I'm going to start a restaurant or do something. What are some of the things that you were surprised by and some of the things that you feel like you've done really well that's helped you kind of rise back up?
Yeah.
Because it has taken a turn. I mean, Marilyn's Place, we used to live right there on Delaware, and we'd walk or come down and eat there all the time. And then like right before COVID really, but then into COVID, it kind of took a dip.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he was getting ready to retire and COVID hit everybody.
Oh, I mean, it was killer for
the
restaurant.
But it's picked back up, man. I mean, every time I go by there, brunch is just banging. There's, people park.
Well, for me, like if I'd have got Marilyn's Place 7 years ago when I had started that initial conversation, I would have immediately changed the name and the branding and probably changed it from the Cajun restaurant it is and something else. But in last July, when Boz called me, he said, "Hey, just come to the restaurant and sit down." After we had talked about how we wanted to do the deal and I was already convinced, I was still thinking I'm going to change the brand and change the name. The real estate's what's worthwhile. But I sat down and I went to a brunch and it was packed, and I listened to people that were coming in from Lafayette and Houston and Lake Charles, and I realized, like, man, this thing still's got some legs to it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that's helped us for sure. I mean, we bought a brand that was already had some notoriety to it. Now, granted, it had
fans.
It had some fans. It had some negatives that we're still, looking to change. And it's hard because I don't ever want to go out and be like, "Hey, we're this completely new Marilyn's," and bash what Baza did, because he took 15 years in the restaurant industry and created something phenomenal, And so
it's always been one of my favorites.
And he'll tell you, I mean, there's things that he wanted to do or wished he had done that he just wasn't, for whatever reason able to do. And it may have been a cash flow thing. It may have just been personal, whatever. But
I mean, I think any business owner understands that over the life of 10, you're going to have down years. You're going to have personal stuff come on. It's not ever, you're never going to be able to give everybody A+.
And so just a quick backstory on him. He started Boz was in the movie industry doing movie stuff down in New Orleans, and his mom, Miss Marilynn, wanted him to move back to Shreveport. And so she said, I'll buy you a restaurant, you start it and run it. And that's where Marilynn's place came from. So Miss Marilynn unfortunately passed about 7 months into the restaurant being open. She had cancer and passed away. And so not only in a sense were we carrying on this legacy of what he had created, but the whole story of a mother, bringing her son back up. And it's just, there's some romanticness involved
sweet.
In the story of Marilynn's place that I think gets overlooked sometimes. But
now was the spot a car garage? What was it?
It was a Texaco station.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So it was built 1955. It was a guy named Al Carroll. He had a Texaco station right there for years and years. And then it sat empty for probably 10, 15 years until Boz took it and turned it into what it was. And so we had this incredible footprint of what we needed to do. We just needed to refresh the brand and literally refresh the building. And so, and knowing that, when we shut down, we signed papers October 15th of 2025. That's when we bought Marilynn's place. The first thing we did was take literally everything out that wasn't screwed down, and a lot of stuff that was screwed down. We took everything out. We cleaned the place, and then stepped back and said, wow, we've got to clean this some more. And so we cleaned it more, got it into a position where it needed to be. I think if I had one thing to say about the way we did things is like, plans are great, projections are great, but don't get too caught up in those things not being exactly what you thought they were going to be. When we started the renovation, I thought, man, we'll be back open in 60 days. No problem. We're going to come in, we're going to clean, we're going to paint, get some new furniture, slap a couple new refrigerators in here, we'll be rocking and rolling, right? Well, Thanksgiving week, inspector shoots in, says, hey, you're building this new bar, you got to pull permits, we got to do all this. So overnight, Thanksgiving week, I become, I go from Bob, the point to paint here and clean this guy, to the general contractor that's now having to pull permits and deal with multiple contractors every single day. And like that part of things just was a complete learning experience. So thankful that I did it, because now I have some self-confidence that I never had at this point last year, where I'm like, hey, if somebody wants to do a $50 million project, I'm your guy. Give me a shot. Like, I don't, put the money in the bank. Let's find the project. Let's do it. But like,
that's awesome.
I didn't have that confidence before. And I think that's part of being an entrepreneur too, is like you get in this uncomfortable phase and you're like crapping down your leg and you're like, how is all this going to work? I've got payroll on, Friday, and you just have to find a different level of faith that you may not have had before, and a different level of go that you may not have had before. And that's the, you hear everybody say like, oh, I took that leap and I'll never turn back. Like, that's me. I took that leap when I left Great Raft. I didn't have a guaranteed salary. I didn't have anything guaranteed.
Yeah.
Here I am with 2 kids under 3 years old, and I'm going after it. And it's worked out ever since. And I'm going to fight tooth and nail to keep making it work out, whether that's making sure Marilynn's is running 100% speed or single source is running 100, whatever. Like, I'm going to just fight tooth and nail as the entrepreneur I am to keep my family happy and keep doing better.
It's good, man. Yeah. I look back on, we started our practice will be open 10 years next year in February or March. And, I look back on when I started by myself, and it was like I was working for the children's home, I was working in human trafficking with the hub, I was like doing so much just trying to help the community and free stuff and just showing up wherever I could show up. And it was like this combination of things. And then it's like, I guess, that things kind of fell apart. Some people wanted me to do stuff I didn't feel like doing and then didn't think it was good for me. And just like, okay, well, I'll quit all that and then start a practice. Mm-hmm. And looking back, it's like, I can't really logically make it make sense. Like, I'm like, if I'd have overthought it too much, and that's somewhat, being an entrepreneur, it's like you have to take risk. I had clients coming in from other people, but it was like I had been in the community for 10 years serving people, not taking clients. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, people were saying all the time, hey, if you had a private practice, we'd send you people. Let's see if this works, you know? And, luckily it did, and then has escalated quickly.
Yeah, for sure. We hit, with Marilynn's, I think the timing was perfect. Obviously, it made sense for Boz to step away and go do what he's doing and live a little bit probably easier life. And now he's on a riverboat where he's the chef of, a tugboat that's got a crew of 12 on it. And so he just cooks for those 12 guys day in and day out for 28 days. And then he gets off the boat and comes home. But I think timing wise, it worked out really well for us. We shut down. We had enough time to get reopened for Mardi Gras, which was a huge injection of cash.
That was this year, right?
Injection of cash in February of this year. And then we shut back down for about 30 days to finish the remodel. And to get the liquor license and and then we opened April 2nd. And so we just had an incredible April and May weather-wise.
Yeah, dude, it's been ridiculous.
And now we get June where it's like you look at the radar and it's 15 straight days of rain and 100-degree heat. And it's like, damn, like and thank God we took advantage of the perfectness in April and May, and we're able to get the business in a very good position and capitalize on it and make that first impression that we needed to make. And so it was – the hardest thing right now is you have this expectation of those first 2 months, and then you get the post-Memorial Day slump, which retail and restaurants always see, and then you get some of the issues we're dealing with all this parking stuff and other things going on in the neighborhood. But at the end of the day, like I'm looking at the numbers we're doing now in what's considered our slow months, and I'm like, okay, this is where we actually were projected to be, so I was kind of on point. But the project itself of Marilynn's place, again, I never intended for us to go out and have the big a budget as we had to remodel the thing. I thought $100,000 will be good to go. I doubled that, and so that's another lesson too to be learned is whatever business you're starting, whatever you're doing, double the budget, double the amount of time you're going to need to take to get it open. Because I would have never thought it would take us close to 5 months to get reopened, almost 6 months. Never, if you put a gun to my head back in October, I'd have been like, nah, well, 90 days max.
Yeah, well, that's also our entrepreneur brains.
It is, yeah. You always think the most positive thing until the most negative thing happens, But I'll say for me personally, too, as an entrepreneur and going through all this, and of course, I've been dealing with the loss of my dad. I know that's 6 years ago this year, but anybody can tell you that's lost a parent. You're going to grieve probably the rest of your life, and so. Therapy.
Well, every opening, every moment,
Oh man, so therapy's helped me a ton. I lost a good friend, kind of in the middle of all this right now. So Jim Walsh, who was just a dynamo of a person in Shreveport, Bossier as well. Jim was kind of like a mentor to me when we started the accounting business. We moved into Jim's building, the Andrews downtown. And Jim was hugely impactful on my confidence in our ability to grow that business, and would always share a contact or network with the right folks or whatever. And so then Jim passes away middle of October in 2023. And it was just like a shock, and so now I grieve Dad every October. I grieve Jim every October. And he wasn't like a dad to me. He was more just like a good friend that had been through what we had been through. Jim was an entrepreneur. He started his IT business. He told me he remembers celebrating making like, $17,000 the first year. They thought they were just killing it. And then he turns around and sells those things for millions of dollars down the road. But it wasn't all easy between that $17,000 a year and that $1 million plus payout at the end of it. And so it's just that reminder to me, like, even when things don't feel right, you've got to have that faith, and you got to be willing to just say, you know what, like, yeah, I don't know where it's all going to come from, but I know it's going to happen, and I'm going to be the one to make that transition, makes that happen.
Yeah, so, man. You said therapy's been helpful. What kind of, can you tell me how it's been helpful?
Therapy, I started therapy shortly after my dad passed away. My first therapist was actually somebody I went to college with, and so we were friends in college, and she was a great therapist, and I actually saw her last week, and so we had this conversation, so it's fresh on my mind. But as a adult male in your 30s, or at that time in my late 20s, the last thing I thought I needed was therapy. I guess I was in my 30s, early 30s. The last thing I thought I needed was therapy. I thought, hey, it's just grief. It's going to take time. It's
time heals all wounds, right?
Yeah, and so let's just live life, enjoy the baby. Everything's going to be fine. And so at some point, my wife was very encouraging and saying, hey, just go sit down with somebody. And so I did the guy thing, and I went to sit down with somebody that I knew, and it felt more comfortable. And my old therapist, she asked me last week, she said, was I a good therapist? And she's like, I don't feel like for whatever reason I was a good therapist for you. And I was like, no, you were an excellent therapist because you got me to understand how impactful therapy could be. And that's what I needed at the time. I didn't need somebody to help me solve all the problems. I needed somebody to
be safe enough
and help me be comfortable in the idea of sharing. Good. And so she got pregnant and then went on maternity leave. And so I was kind of in between therapist. And then I ended up going to another friend of mine that started her practice, and she was great, but it was the same thing where I didn't feel like I could fully expose everything because we had a relationship. We knew each other. Our families know each other. My wife knows her. Kids know each other, whatever. And so there was still this part of me where I'm just like, man, I need to find somebody else. She ends up going on maternity leave too. And so I actually bounced around.
Pick these pregnant therapists,
dude. Man. Yeah. I mean, we're all in that stage of life. Like I said, they're friends of mine in their 30s and they're, that's what happens. And so
I'm joking. I got a bunch of them. So
they're building families. But so I bounced around for a little bit. And now I'm with a therapist who I call a friend, but she's just my therapist, thankfully. Right. Yeah. Like if I see her out, we nod heads, but it's not like how's the husband, I don't know all that about her. She doesn't know very little about me outside of what we talk about. But therapy is just, I can tell you the months when I'm like, oh, I'm good. I don't need it. I'll take a month off. And then I come crashing down and I'm like, I need 20 sessions tomorrow. Yeah. It's just hugely impactful to be able to understand. I think somebody can tell you all day long, like, hey, everybody's going through this, but for me, I put it out there a lot. I very active on social media in the sense that like I'm going to tell my story because my therapist has convinced me, and rightfully so, told me that like you have the opportunity to tell your story. Otherwise, someone else is going to tell it for you, right? And so for me, like when I put out there of how tough the grind is for the restaurant or what we're trying to do at Single Source, like that's true me. That's not a marketing thing. That literally is me expressing emotion that I don't know how to express any other way. And so outside of therapy, social media is therapeutic for me because I can share and I can see how it impacts other people. And I'll get somebody to stop me in a grocery store or like come in the restaurant. I had a lady from Little Rock come in the restaurant last weekend and she goes, I came down here just to come to this restaurant because I saw how hard y'all worked to do all the things that you did. Cool. And like that makes me want to post every single part of my life. And I'm not trying to be an influencer. I'm not trying to make money on it. I'm not trying to be this person I'm not. Like it helps me. Like it literally takes a mental load off for me to share what's going on in my life and then have other people, be agreeable or help me talk through a problem. But the therapy side of all that has really helped me unlock and be more comfortable in being the person that I am to tell that story because it is unique. I mean, not everybody's willing to, to leave a career and do this and just bounce around. And I think there's a lot of people that cheer for Shreveport, but there's not a lot of people that are going to cheer from the mountaintops like I do and really try to put people in their place when they're negative against it.
It's good, man. Yeah, not everybody should share from Facebook, but no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I think it's great. I think I always tell people I'm not anti-social media. I'm just anti-using it poorly. But it's like, man, when you're doing the work, and you have a story and you're running a business like Marilynn's Place and doing the things that you're doing, for the community, what a cool thing to watch people kind of watch that grow and infuse some hope and infuse some, hey, you can do it too, and we can do this together, so that another business owner who's trying to figure it out sees, like, man, okay, they're doing it that way, and this is how they've done it, and then they can reach out to you or, say, hey, even on this podcast, like somebody go, oh, who's this therapist? Or it's nice that he goes to therapy. I didn't know business owners go to therapy. It's like those are the things, breaking down those taboos and there's barriers that allow other people to heal. And I read this thing the other day. It said, live your recovery loudly so that people don't die silently. And I was like, whew.
Yeah.
It's like, and recovery is not just from addiction. It's not just from, it's from trauma. It's from the things we've been through in life. And it's like, if you live your healing loudly, then those people who are kind of dying silently will find some hope.
Yeah. And that's a hard thing too, is like, I try not to paint this persona of how good everything is, because that's not truthful. That's not the true Bob. Like I struggle with anxiety every day. I have had to find tools to overcome those obstacles, and I encourage everybody, whether it's exercise or therapy or cooking or whatever it may be, there's something in you that will change your perspective on things, and you've really got to work hard to find it. And I'm thankful I've found what I've found. I'm still searching for more tools to put in my bag. The social media thing for me, I had a good friend, Mark Myers, who's a Shreveport fireman. His wife's a Bossier firefighter. he posts on social media. I can almost see the post now, but it was basically the same thing where it's like there's so many negative aspects to social media, but I've found the positive, and that's what I want to stand on. And that's what I want to use. And so I've been able to use social media not just positively for myself, but for the community involvement and things like that, to raise money, to help out causes, to promote friends' businesses, things like that. There's so much positiveness to it. I still struggle with the negative. I doom scroll. My wife tells me all the time, you just put your phone down, you'll go to bed. And I'm like looking at her, I'm like, same thing, girl, but there's still obviously negative sides to it, but there's a lot of positive that can come out of social media and sharing, in particular, sharing your story and your struggles. That will, it impacts people. I mean, it really does. And I can see it first person. I hear it every single day. I had a good friend of mine right now that's struggling with alcohol. And he said that reading other people's stories about their struggles and how they've approached it's really helped him. And that's something I went from drinking beer and having a company credit card that said beer card on it. And I was the guy. I walked in, I'd drink 4 or 5 beers, buy 4 or 5 beers. And then my dad passed at 67, heavy drinker, heavy smoker. And it was Christmas of 2024, Christmas Day. I just was like, I'm not drinking anymore. And so I've been, I won't say completely sober for over 500 days. I've had a few days where, like, my wife and I's anniversary, I had a glass of bourbon, and she was like, how was it? And I was like, I don't want another one, And I don't know if it was just me trying to test myself to see, like, do I need this or whatever. But alcohol is something I'm just behind. It's behind me. It was a huge part of my life for 10, 15 years, where I was selling, I was bartending for a long time. I'm selling beer for a long time, and literally had the nickname Bobby Beers. And now I'm, here I am sober, and I'm seeing life differently. But I'll say after about 60 days of not drinking, there was something that just clicked. And I was like, shoot, this is real. There's something to be had with not doing this. And so, again, there's been days where I've wanted it, but I just kind of turn away and say, okay, do you want it because it's right there, or do you really want it?
Yeah.
And I've made that decision where I just need to turn away from it and live life without those type of things for a little while.
Yeah, man. You obviously know we're like a Christian counseling kind of thing. Do you have any faith? You said faith a couple of times, but what do you mean by that? What do you kind of have in your pocket with that?
So religion's something I still struggle with to this day. I'm pretty open about it. Growing up in the South, you see a lot of hypocrisy. Yeah, exactly. And so, I grew up with people that would, cuss and drink Monday through Saturday, and then they're sinners, and then they're great on Sunday, and they go to the church and all that. And so when I talk about faith, I more talk about faith in yourself, and faith in that if there's problems, you're going to solve them. If there's something that you're up against, you have those abilities, and you've been through battles that are harder than what you're dealing with now. I do still struggle with it from a religious standpoint. My wife is certainly more religious and grew up in more of a church-going household than what I did. And so I will say this year, one of the Christmas gifts she gave me was like this 100 Days of Strength for Men. It's this tiny little pocket-sized book. And in reading that little book, I learned more about Christ and what he can do for our lives than I had ever had in any church experience growing up. And so I'm on this journey of it for sure. And I don't know. I don't go to church every Sunday. I don't read the Bible every single day. I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate, how to bring that side of things and understand that more. But I will say that little pocketbook she gave me opened my eyes to what the relationship with Christ can hold for me if I'm able to focus on that. And that's something that, again, I'm not going to say I try every day, but it's something that's stuck here in the back of my head where I'm like, you need to do that. And
that's cool, man.
It's there. And I respect, it takes a lot of other faith to see what you guys see in Christianity and see in religion. And I just haven't unlocked that personally yet, but it's a journey I'm on, and it's the friends that I talk to that have encouraged me to how it's affected their lives. That's something that drives me as well.
Yeah, man, it's an interesting thing. Obviously, as a clinician and a veteran and all those things, I talk to a lot of guys who are like, I'm not about that.
Yeah,
and it's like, I get it. Most of the things that I think I struggled with religion, are the same things everybody struggles with, and it's like, that's not Jesus. Like, that's not the thing that he's teaching and preaching. That's men have come in and butchered it, and our American culture, our Western culture, our Southern culture. There's so many layers that have been placed on the Bible and its relevance, and it's like how people live it out. And So yeah, man, we'll pray for you, and pray you keep the Lord.
Well, and I think I again, like, religion is one thing for me, and then church is a whole different thing. That's right. I think again, the introductions I had to church and the understanding I had of the church has really turned me away.
Yeah.
And I think we do live in this society right now where, unfortunately, religion is just used in some negative manners at times. And I mean, I see your face. You're like, yeah, I absolutely know. I understand that. And that's what's so hard about it for me is you see these people that are just using it in such a wrong way.
Yeah, man.
And you just have to wonder, like, obviously that's not what was intended by all this. It was not for you to use this for wealth or for whatever. And so, like, kind
of the story of the Bible.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, when are we going to come back around? And I don't think we can't control as a nation how we come back around, but I think personally I can control how I come back around to Christianity. So.
Yeah. I think the thing about Jesus that's so interesting to me, I mean, other than him being, our Savior, is that just that statement itself is like, I've found that whether I understand everything theologically, it's that at the end of the day, when I'm looking at myself, it's like, man, I am not enough. Yep. I need something outside of myself to love, to give, to serve. And in the teachings of Christ, in his embodiment of those things in the New Testament, I see a man who had all the power, all the authority, and he overturns the apple cart and does it all in the ways that. And so it's the stuff we're talking about is what he does. Like, it's the same situation we're in now where people use religion to, and he says this to the Pharisees, you put chains and yokes around their head, their necks too heavy for them to bear.
Right.
Like, Jesus was saying the same thing you're saying and I'm saying right now about religion.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting that's like, yeah, that's the point, is that if we look at a God who loves us unconditionally and who has pursued us and who is the one in the back of your head going, hey, man, I love you. I care about you.
Yeah.
That's not me. The good news about him, man, is that he'll just keep pursuing us and loving us.
Yeah, and that's what, like, with that little book, I don't think I realized how, I'm not comparing myself to Jesus by any means, but how I was living life, and I do live life the way that he wants us to live life.
Yeah. Community, giving, sharing, drawing people in. I mean, all the things you were describing, which was what was funny, which led me to the question is, some of my best friends are atheists.
Yeah.
And some of the best people I know in their behaviors are atheists. And as they can see, God is the one who's implementing that and giving that gift and working through them in spite of us even not believing in him.
Yeah.
How much more rich in love is God that someone could be like, hey, screw you.
Yeah.
Look how good I'm doing. And he's sitting there going, yeah, you're doing that because I made you in my image.
Yeah. I always thought that there was this harder route. You have to read the Bible, you have to go to church every Sunday, you have to give, that I had to do all those things before I would have any type of relationship or be saved. And so that was really, if anything, that little pocketbook within the first 2-3 days of reading the daily message. I'm like, oh, me and this guy got a lot, we got a lot in common. He wasn't exactly, the
cultural norm.
Yeah, I mean, he was doing kind of things his way. And again, I'm not Christ-like in many other ways outside of just like, I care about people, I care about community. I truly believe that we're all better together. In fact, I was like, I want to send out a message today. I sent a message out yesterday about just going after things and kind of going after what you want, because that's how it's going to happen. Today, I'm like, the world needs more. We need more collaboration. We have to be more willing to sit down in unity and have conversation. That's, I think, something that just got lost with the technology and everything else.
And politics.
And politics. It just, if you and I don't see eye to eye on every single thing on this page, then we have to hate each other, and that's so stupid. That's very dumb. And so I think Shreveport's a microcosm of that. There's so many good people doing good things that may shy away from collaborating with each other, and I think that that's the opposite of what we need. We have to be more together. Yes, we have to look out for ourselves in the sense that I can't go bankrupt helping you. You can't go bankrupt helping me. But I don't have to win every time we sit down. I don't have to come away from a meeting with, a $10,000 engagement and all this stuff. Like, I can come away from a meeting knowing I helped a small business owner, prop them up and move along. And that's what we need in Shreveport more than anything, is people willing to work with each other and be a little bit more civil with each other. And somebody described it as everyone's got their ladder. There's no reason to knock somebody off of theirs to climb. We can all climb together, and that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, that sounds like good theology. it sounds like
Yeah.
sacrificial love and laying your lives down for your friend. And yeah, man. Well, dude, I appreciate your time on here and let me dig a little bit on the religious thing. And I've heard amazing things about you from people. I see what you're doing in our community. All those people you named, I'm in some connection with or somebody. And so, man, it's really cool to have other people my age doing this stuff and like trying to make Shreveport better. So if there, anything I can do, anything we can do for you guys, let us know.
Yeah.
We're around where, I'm sure some of our counselors and we come to your place and
well, again, I mean, I just, if I have to leave one thing on here, it's that, I encourage people to try therapy. I encourage people to look into religion. Obviously, again, I'm not the one to tell you how to do it, but there are things out there, and we all need help. We can't solve all the problems that we have coming at us every single day if we don't find ways to take that mental load off and then find people that are going to help us get through all that stuff. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to just say, hey, I'm up against the wall.
That's right, man.
Somebody needs to push me and get me off of the situation I'm in. You may have put yourself there, but that doesn't mean somebody can't help you get out of it. So,
dude, that's so good. Yeah, especially for our age men. I mean, right now, you're how old?
36.
That's right. So 35 to like 55 is 4 times higher suicide rate than homicide rate.
That's crazy.
So it's like, man, and we get it, right? Like, I get it. I've been in that position where it's like, what's the point? So it's like, man, look at our lives. Hopefully people listen to this, share this podcast, like remind people that this does not have to be the end and this is not the end of your story and that life is worth living. So we thank you for listening, man. Thanks for coming on, Bob.
Thank you.
And,
I appreciate it.
Guys, go eat at Marilyn's place. If you're in Shreveport, if you're not in Shreveport, come to Shreveport and eat at Marilyn's place. If you need some taxes done, we'll put those links in there as well. God bless you guys and have a good week.